You're live. You got it?
Yeah.
Come on in.
Come on now.
It's live right now, correct?
No one's watching, so you can.
If you have an empty seat next to you, please raise your hand. Empty seats, please raise your hand. Anyone who has an empty seat. Okay.
Who's that lady? Who's that lady?
Forgot. She'll go put their names up.
Is she running for the 5th as well? Jeez.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Congressional candidates should be finding their seats in front. Congressional candidates should be in front, finding their seat. They should have name tags.
Nope, forgot the button. You are in the way, I see. Can you go down and I'll go up? Is that possible?
You want me to go down?
Yeah. Go down.
How far?
Perfect.
Congressional candidates, you're all in
Thank you.
front.
You all right?
Does anyone
Can we join
else
us?
want the seat? Okay. IMLS, are you ready?
Oh, there you are.
There I am. I'm here and I'm starting on time. Before we formally get started, hey, you all really aren't following directions already. Congressional candidates, you need to follow my directions. Everyone take a seat. Congressional candidates, please take a seat. Okay, thank you. This evening will go much more smoothly if you follow my directions. Okay, before we formally get started, who's on Facebook? Who in this room has Facebook? Don't lie, I know more of you are. Please get out your phones, everyone who's on Facebook. If you do not already follow us or are part of our group for Indivisible Mainline South, please search for groups. You all know how to search? Put Indivisible Mainline South. It's a lot of letters and words. Indivisible Mainline South in the search bar. You all have your phones out and are doing it, right? I can see you doing it. No, there's a lot of people here who are on Facebook who do not have their phones out. But you still need your phone out. I need you, even if you're part of our group, I need you to have your phone out. Candidates, you are welcome to do this as well if you brought your phones up with you. You have a lot of followers, right? You will at the end of tonight. Everyone find Indivisible Mainline right at the top. Can everyone see it? Looks like a movie. You see me on your phone. Cool, right? Here I am, and I'm on your phone. Who sees it? No one raised their hand. Yay, Beth! Who sees it? Who else sees me on your phone? Thank you. Like the live stream. Who else sees me on your phone? Amy Goldman, you are on Facebook, right? You have a Facebook account. Devin, you have Facebook. Joel? Like live stream. Thank you, Joel. If I know your name, you're in big trouble here tonight. Okay? Like our live stream. Thank you. You'll excuse me, I have not met all the candidates yet. Hi. Okay. There's a lot of names. I have everyone's pronunciation down. I'm using first names. We'll see if I can manage. Holly, you're going to work my slideshow. But you have to just for this part. Sorry. That's right. Here? However you have to. Welcome, everybody. Wow. So, my name is Lisa Goldstein, and I am your host and your moderator for tonight. I am one of the co-founders of Indivisible Mainline South, and also a committee person for Radnor Dems. A lot of us live in more than one world. Next slide. I also move around a lot as I talk. I'm blocking everybody. You're not blocking anyone. We're good. It's up high. This is pretty amazing, right? Because what was the date that this 5th Congressional District was formed? Audience participation.
President's Day.
10 days ago? You. Where are you?
President's Day.
Okay, about 10 days ago. We started organizing this forum less than a week ago, so thank you all for being here. Okay. There's a lot of people standing by the sides. Raise your hand if you have an empty seat next to you. Okay, anyone who wants to come in and get a seat, and we'll do this again a couple times. All the candidates and campaign managers like to stand around the sides. For anyone who would like to, we would love you to find us on Facebook and share our live stream. That's how we can make sure more and more people get to know our, what will be 15 candidates in the new 5th Congressional District. Next slide. So the reason Indivisible Mainline South is hosting this candidate forum, next slide, they saw that one, is that we are an indivisible group. Indivisible is what's called a resistance group. Who here has heard of resistance groups? Right? We get a lot of press. From the homepage of Indivisible, our mission is to fuel a progressive grassroots network of local groups to resist the Trump agenda. There are almost 6,000 indivisible groups, and there are many, many more resistance groups around the country. How many of you belong? I want to give the candidates a lot of information tonight. How many of you belong to a resistance group? A lot of people in this room, right? Next slide, please. At Indivisible Mainline South, we think that the best form of resistance is winning elections. So we started we were planning this candidate forum back in January when we used to be in the 7th Congressional District. So here we were 10 days after the new map, and we already had half of you coming to our event. So we really want to thank Marple Newtown Dems, because we stole, actually, they graciously shared with us their meeting time tonight so that we could have this event. Next slide, please. So we are going to start this evening with an introduction from Brian Zydak, our Democratic Hey, Brian. Brian, you were here. I talked to you.
I was talking.
There you go.
I was trying to get votes. Yeah. Thanks, Lisa.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me out here tonight. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. My political career began as part of the resistance that Lisa spoke about. I was not involved in politics until Donald Trump got elected, and I thought, well, we've got to do something here about this. And so that's what brought me here today. My slate, Mary Walk, is here in the audience, and all of us ran because we saw a Republican machine in Delaware County that we felt did not serve the citizens of Delaware County very well. I can tell you that seeing the machine from a bit of the inside now, it is every bit as powerful and as pervasive as we all thought it to be. So I thank all of you who have been helping us, coming to meetings, writing letters, making phone calls, and otherwise generally making a nuisance of yourselves, but helping to promote policies and procedures that I think will serve all of the citizens of Delaware County well. So thank you for that. I'd like to thank all of the candidates who are on the stage here today for sticking your necks out as far as you have. Running for office is no small feat. On a local level, I can only imagine how exponentially greater that feat is on a national level. So thank you for all of the hard work that you have been doing and all the hard work that you will be doing over the coming months. It really means a lot to all of us here, and I'm not sure people probably thank you as often as they do. I've met most of the candidates at one time or another during our campaign or just about town, and I can tell you that I have been impressed by each and every one of the people that I've met. All of them are talented in their own rights, and I know that whoever represents the Democratic Party in the general election for the 5th Congressional campaign will do us proud. And you should know that there will be an army of supporters out there for you during the general election, knocking on doors, standing at train stations, phone banking, helping you raise money, and that if you'll have me, you can count me amongst those who will be supporting you. I am going to stop talking now before Lisa yells at me. I'm looking forward to learning more about all of the candidates who are up here tonight, and learning about their positions, and I'll turn it back over to Lisa.
Brian is a spectacular example of following my directions. He was given 1 to 2 minutes, look at that, and he turned it back to me at 2 minutes. So you can imagine how hard it is to run a forum with 15 candidates and tons of state candidates here and actually try to give people a chance to talk. So we're going to try to move this right along. Next slide. As I said, Marple New Thames graciously shared their time with me. Claude has 1 minute to welcome you all.
Thank you very much for being here. The deal is that, yeah, I gave up the time because I thought it was really important for local committees and MLS to work together, you know, or the individual movers to work together. It's critical that we do that. I look at it as a farm team, and we're all in the same boat. We're all Democrats. We all want to elect candidates. To that end, you've got to fill these in. These are very important. Many of them are due on Friday. I've been pressured by some of the legislative candidates to get these in early. Regardless, we're having our breakfast on Saturday, and I hope that you can be there and enjoy breakfast and support Marple Newtown and Springfield Democratic committees. It's $30 at the door. We'll also have several notary publics there, so hopefully you can make it and enjoy a nice breakfast and some great candidates talking to you about current day issues. Thank you so much for being here as candidates, and good luck, everybody.
Next slide, please. So there's a couple really pressing issues right now. One of which is we were only redistricted into the 5th Congressional District less than 2 weeks ago. And we wanted to give you a little bit more information from Fair Districts, PA. Hugh, oh, there you go.
I was born in the Midwest. I'm a slow talker, so I don't know whether. How do you like your new maps? How do you like that the Supreme Court drew them? Let me put it this way. Do you think the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania should be in the business of drawing maps? Okay, so it's really important for everybody to understand that this is step one. And oh, by the way, in 2020, after the census, when redistricting occurs again, unless we change the current process, it will be another round of gerrymandering, actually potentially by the Democrats at that time, and there will be court challenges, and we'll be right back where we are. So the important message I want to leave with you is we've got new maps. That's great. The next thing is we have to get this legislation passed. There are two bills, Senate Bill 22 and Senate Bill 722. These are identical bills that have had tremendous evolution over time. They're good bills, and one of them has just been scheduled for a public hearing, Senate Bill 22, on March 9th, and the other one, House Bill 722, despite having over 109 co-sponsors, 38 Republicans, 71 Democrats, cannot get out of committee because of the chairman of that committee is blocking Darrell Metcalf from Butler County. So we're really looking for the support of you folks, and I just want to say that the voters of Delaware County and this district are watching, And it's very interesting that we're getting a ground full of Republicans that are starting to co-sponsor this bill. So I think it's really important for the Democrats to be out front in terms of reform on this topic. And how's my time? All right.
Thank you very much. So all you folks in indivisible groups, what's the best way to influence your member of Congress? Members of Congress. Calls, correct. So you know what you're calling about, right? And you can go to Fair Districts PA to get more.org.
Yeah, and feel free to come see me after the meeting. I'll give
You will be here after. Great person to talk to. Please raise your hand if you have an empty seat next to you. A whole bunch more people have walked in. Look at that, all those empty seats. Please, 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 people walking in who aren't going to come up here soon, get a seat. Okay. The other really, really pressing issue right now, or there's a new pressing issue every week, but right now what's in the news and what's been on the news all day today is something I think you'd like to hear more about from Jessica Frankel from Delco United for Sensible Gun Policy.
Thank you everybody for being here. And like it was just said, it is a pressing issue. It's been a pressing issue for a long time, and now it's the time that we do something about it while the momentum's strong. I'm Jessica Frankel. I'm the outreach coordinator for Delco United for Sensible Gun Policy. We're a grassroots organization that's been working for the past 5 years to get common sense gun reform passed in Pennsylvania and nationwide. And I'm here to tell you about a really important event that you're seeing up on the screen called Demand the Ban. This event is being held on March 21st at 10 a.m. in Philadelphia. It'll start at 4th and Arch Street at the Arch Street Friends Meeting House. Right at that spot, we're going to have a group called Raw Tools who's flying out from Colorado, melting down an assault weapon in front of our eyes and forging that weapon into a symbol of life, a garden tool. We're then going to march that garden tool all down to Senator Toomey's office at 200 Chestnut Street, and hopefully we'll be holding a rally there, and we'll have some survivors who have had family members lost to assault weapons violence over the past few years speaking, and then hopefully we will have a small cadre of well-trained, non-violent advocates going into Senator Toomey's office, and we're hoping to get him to sign on to S-2095. That's the assault weapons ban of 2017, and it's a lot stronger than Senator Rubio says it is. It's an amazing bill. We're hoping incorporating this act of civil disobedience will be a game changer in the movement. The high schoolers are already creating a game changer in the movement, but we'd like to follow their example. A lot of them are walking out on school and risking suspension to draw attention to this issue. So I think some of us can take off of work on a Wednesday. If you're able, please come down. Support us in the Demand the Ban action. I have flyers. They're sitting at that table in the back. Come and chat. Come sign up for a group. Also, we do have buses going down to DC. I think they are probably closed by now, but we have 4 buses of high schoolers from Delaware County who will be traveling down to support the students on the March for Our Lives on the 24th. And we raised all the money to cover their fees in a couple of days. So thank you so much for having me.
Wow, it must have really scared people because everyone's running on time. So thank you all. Would anyone like a seat? I can have them put their hands up again. So there are more seats. And state house candidates, you're going to have to wait about, or state candidates, you're going to have to wait about 10 more minutes, and then we are going to introduce you. So I do wish I had my PowerPoint that I could push the buttons, but I can't with our setup. So next slide, please. So again, we are Indivisible Mainline South, and my name is Lisa Goldstein. And we worked really hard on thinking about what this forum would look like. Really, we worked nonstop for about the last 5 days because that's all the time we had to plan it. And so for our co-leaders from Indivisible Mainline South, could you stand up or raise your hands? All of their, thank you. You can't imagine how much it takes to pull this together, and they have really been an incredible team. So I can't thank them enough, you all enough for being here, and all of our candidates, but we'll get to you in a few more minutes. Some of you may ask, why is a resistance group involved in elections? Why aren't we just protesting outside Pat Meehan's office and down at the courthouse like we've been for the last year? And next slide, please. The reason we're involved in elections is because the old way isn't working. We all know each other at Indivisible Mainline South because every 4 years we would come out and we were a Get Out the Vote team, GOTV. We've been doing that for multiple election cycles now. Some people go all the way back to when Joe Sestak ran the first time. And every 4 years there'd be an election. We'd work really hard, we'd make friends, and then we'd disappear for 4 years. Next slide, please. And the old way hasn't worked. Over the last 10 years, we've lost 900 Democratic seats across this country. 900, nothing. And the old way hasn't worked because in 34 states in our country right now, there is what's called a trifecta, which means one party is governing that state, both houses of the legislature and the governor's office. And despite the fact that we are told every day that our country is divided, is split, almost in half, that we're almost even, Republicans and Democrats, 26 of those states are controlled completely by Republican government, Senate, House, governor. Next slide, please. And the old way here in Pennsylvania really isn't working because despite the fact that we have a Democratic voter registration advantage in Pennsylvania, did you know that? There are more Democrats registered to vote in Pennsylvania than Republicans. There are 120 Republicans in our state house and only 80 Democrats. And in the Senate, the Republicans have a supermajority. And our Pennsylvania delegation to the U.S. Congress has 18 members. It was 13. It's now 12 Republican members to Congress and 5 Democrats. Does that sound like a state that has a Democratic voter registration advantage? Does that sound like it to you? No, not to us either. Next slide. And this is what our congressional delegation to Congress looks like. Okay? It doesn't look like me. Does it look like half of you in this room? No. Next slide. The old way, an awful lot of people don't vote. In the 2016 presidential election, we all know that one, right? Really heated. You couldn't have missed it. Almost 60% of eligible voters voted, and that was a good year. In a midterm election in 2018, this is a midterm election, typical turnout is 40% of eligible voters. Is that good enough for you? No. No. Next slide. But what if there's a different way? What if we don't just want new politicians? And we do want new politicians, right? Look at these great candidates up here. We want new politicians. But what if we're part of creating an actual new political process? Look at this room. How many of you are in some capacity involved with the Democratic Party? And how many of you in some capacity are involved with the resistance group? That's pretty cool, right? People didn't think that was going to happen, that the resistance was going to work with the party. Next slide, please. The new way is a grassroots way. It's bottom up. It's where voters are engaged and voters actually vote. And you know who those voters are? Us. We're the voters. Next slide, please. So the old way, every 4 years when we go home, we're done with that. Here's the new way. The new way. Where's Brian? Wave, Brian. You're way in the back somewhere. There he is. And Mary, you're here. Where's Mary? There's Mary Walk. The new way is what happened in 2017. The voters, the grassroots, the resistance, and the party members, the newly energized party members, we came out and we worked together for our municipal candidates, those commissioners, and our school board candidates. How many school board members do we have here? Woo! How many commissioners or all the other things we call them in Delaware County? Some of you here? Yes, thank you. We worked together, and we worked together with the countywide candidates, with Brian and Kevin and Mary and Joanne and Jerry, and with Kelly. And 5 of them got elected in Delaware County. This is the first time since the Civil War, except for one little fluky election there where someone was in jail. The first time since the Civil War where we've elected Democratic commissioners to the Delaware County Council. And they were incredibly generous with us. But we worked grassroots. And if we do not continue to do that, all those local elections, local candidates aren't going to win, because the 5th is really a Democratic district now. And so if we depend on the same old Dems coming out to vote, in places like the 165th, where Jen O'Mara's running, there's still a Republican majority. So right now, next slide, thank you. All of you statewide candidates that are in the room, come on up. All of you. Thank you, thank you. It's hard work to run for a statewide. Look, right in front of these congressional candidates. Come on, right in front. I will do the next. Okay, thank you. Statewide, so you're not, yeah, you're statewide, right? Lieutenant Governor. Okay, so you all know, you've learned by now, I'm mean with the timer. They are each going to get 2 sentences, Tanner, 2 not compound sentences with periods at the end, to introduce themselves to you and tell you what they're running for in what community, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ray Sosa. I'm the very first Hispanic Lieutenant Governor candidate in the history of the state. I've been appointed by 3 U.S. governors for position of leadership. So among all the candidates right now, I'm the only one already with the state experience. I added 4 positions to my campaign, but we're not going to go into that. Montgomery County. Hi, my name is Mike Zabel. I am running in the 163rd district, which is Drexel Hill, Havertown. And tonight I'm excited to announce that for the first time this May, I will also be running the Broad Street Run. Thank you.
My name is Tanner Rouse. I'm running for State Senate in the 26th District, which is right here in Newtown. For the last 7 years, I've been an assistant district attorney where I fought against gun violence and for people whose voices otherwise wouldn't be heard. I'm honored to be here, and I hope to speak with you in paragraph form soon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer O'Mara, and I'm running for state representative in the 165th, which is Springfield, Marple, Morton, and Radnor, but thanks to gerrymandering, we don't have one full township in my district. And I am running for office because, as Michelle Obama so wisely stated, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And it's time that women and people of color and young people change that. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Philip Locke, running for the 168th, which includes my town of Chester Heights, Thornbury, Middletown, Media, Upper Providence, Edgemont, Newtown, and Ward 5 of Marple. I'm a scientist, a progressive, a municipal leader, and I'm passionate. This is my second sentence. Who is passionate about using fact-based and bipartisan approach to legislation.
I'm Kristen Seal, the bold progressive voice, also running in the 168th House District. I live in Media Borough. I'm running because 52% of my district are women, and we've never elected a woman to represent us in that legislature. And I've spent the last 10 years working in 2 Republican-led state legislatures successfully passing bipartisan legislation. I'd love to do it for you in the 168th.
Hi, I'm Tim Carney. I'm running for the state senate in the 26th and looking to unseat Tom McGarrigle in the fall.
You all getting petitions signed? Do you have them on clipboards? Excellent. And are you staying till the end? You can leave and come back, actually, if you want. It's going to be a long night here. So you may all raise your hands. You are more than welcome to sit down. I know candidates don't like to sit. Love to have more fun. Way too close to those cameras. Thank you. We would love to have more forums. I know we have met most of our candidates over and over and over at our meetings, in our homes, and at our party events. So I hope you come out to those things and get to listen to them all speak in paragraph form, or take the opportunity at the end to speak with them and decide whose petition you want to sign. It's hard to get petitions signed, right? Right. Okay. Thank you. So for those candidates behind me who don't know this yet, one of the advantages of running for a long time and running really hard and working with the grassroots and the resistance is that sometimes an indivisible group adopts you. And then when we run a giant forum like this, we get to play favorites and give our candidate, our one endorsed candidate, in the indivisible Mainline South area, we get to plug her a little bit. So, Jen, what is the 165th?
It is parts of Springfield, Marple, Morton, and Radnor.
Who knows they live in the 165th? There you go. Have you all signed Jen's petitions? Oh, look for Jen. Okay. And Jen, who else has endorsed you?
I've been endorsed by the Delaware County Democratic Party, the Springfield Democratic Party, and Run for Something, which is a national organization supporting millennials running for office.
Jen is just the kind of young candidate. Should we tell how young? She's 28 years old, and she has been running since almost for a year. And she's been knocking on our doors and knocking with my commissioner, my Democratic commissioner, who ran and won in the Republican 4th Ward of Radnor. She's knocked on doors with Brian and Kevin and Mary, and with an awful lot of people in office in this room. So thank you, Jen, for all your hard work for a whole year. Sign the petition. Anyone need a seat? Raise your hand one more time if there's a seat next to you. Come on. Okay. So there are water bottles and soft pretzels. It is warm in this room with all these people here. So we really encourage, feel free to get up, get a water bottle, soft pretzels, candy, use bathroom breaks, and candidates, there's water and candy behind you. So what we're going to do today, and the reason you all came, and we're actually running pretty well on time for all the folks in this room. Any other elected officials here that we have not introduced? Want to make sure we don't miss you. Okay. So no one has actually said the 5th Congressional District, the brand new 5th, includes all of Delaware County, South and Southwest Philadelphia, and a sliver of Montgomery County. Today, for the very first time in this new 5th, we're going to learn about the candidates. We're actually going to ask some questions of the audience and have them learn about us. And we're going to begin this process together. By accident, this is the first time this is happening. So the candidates have quite a pile of things on their laps. One of them is actually a name tag with yarn on it. Y'all might want to put your name tags around your neck because they don't know who you are. If you want sticky tape, we can provide that as well. Next slide. At the end, we're going to share information with the candidates because we think it's really important that we give something back. And you know what? When you have 15 candidates, some of whom have been in this race for about as long as we've been planning this event, which is less than a week, they don't have a whole lot of campaign staff in place or a whole lot of money for polling. So each of you, did everyone here get a numbered 3x5 card when you walked in? Yes? Everyone has a card. If not, did you not get a card? Anyone not have a card? Oh, my own daughter snuck in and didn't get a card. If one of our, Carlene is walking around, put your hands up if you don't have a card. And what we're going to do at the end, oh, and I wrote really careful wording for this. Because it's really hard to collect good data. So we're very aware that this is not scientific data. What we'd like you to do at the end is we would just like you to write a 1 and a 2 on your card and tell us who your first choice candidate is at the end of today's forum. I do not want to see anyone writing on your cards before the forum is over. At the end of the forum, tell us who your first and second place candidates are, 1 and 2. If you have to write a third, it's okay. Like I said, it's not scientific. And on the bottom of the card, write the 1, if you can make yourself, or 2 that really you thought were in last place for you. And on the back of the card, next slide, you get to give us a grade 2, because fair is fair. You can grade me, Indivisible Mainline South, but I'm the one with this mic, so give me a grade, because you know what? I want to get better at doing this. This is a new thing to run a forum like this. So 1 is the worst, 5 is the best. You want to hurt my feelings, grade me. Go back to the one slide before. And all we're going to do with that, and I want you candidates to hear this, that information is confidential. We know that that's not scientific information. We are going to share with you information about you. We're going to tell you how many ones or twos, or if people can't decide, threes you get. We're going to tell you how many last places you got. If there was a comment directed to you, we will share that with you. But I'm not going to tell Molly anything about Dan, and I'm not going to tell Ashley anything about Rich. You got the idea? You're not going to get information about any other candidate. You're going to get information about yourself in all its rough, biased way. We don't know who's in the room. We don't know if you packed the house or if you didn't tell anyone to come. We just wanted to give something back to you. And Amanda, can you tell me, do we have any people watching online?
From just the feed this way, there is. I have 6.
Taylor said, the 20-something daughter says it's not working.
Well.
I have count going through.
She just texted.
I have thumbs.
Hmm?
Coming.
Okay, anyone watching online, give us a like so we know you're watching. Let's see if we get some likes. Anyone want to pull out their phone and share or like the live stream on our Facebook, Indivisible Mainline South Facebook? Because online, and if you can't watch the live stream, there will be a video. You're going to have an opportunity to do a Survey Monkey with the same questions. Please don't leave here and go home and vote again. We really just want to tell them what people thought, who actually watched the forum. Okay, next card, please. Get to grade Me Too. Next. And next, we did the online viewers. So I really want to thank all of you candidates for being here. I think Brian said it's really brave of you. It's hard work to run for office. You had to sit in front of everyone for a half hour, some of you on uncomfortable bar stools. They're really high. And tonight's going to be really interesting. And in the end of this journey, you know, the primary is only 10 weeks, about 10 and a half weeks away. We are only going to have one Democratic congressperson from the 5th Congressional District. And in all likelihood, our one Democratic nominee for Congress is going to be the next congressperson from the 5th, right? Right? So it's meant to be hard. You all signed up for this. You want to be in Congress. So here we go. Here's what they have in their hands. David, what do they have? They have a yes paddle. We're going to ask a lot of yes/no questions. They have a no paddle. They have a name tag. Where's your waffle? You're not going to need it. They have a waffle because sometimes they're not going to want to answer. They're going to want a waffle, right? And that's okay because sometimes it's not easy to answer yes or no. We had to give them that chance, right? Everyone knows what it means to waffle. It didn't get a laugh. Okay, the other thing they have in their hand, they're 3x5 cards. How many 3x5 cards do you each have? Have you counted? Right now you have 4 because you only have 3.
I have 5.
Who does not? Do you all have 3x5? Yours are on the floor, Mary Ann. Do you have 5? Okay, you each have 5 3x5 cards. So this is going to depend, my slides say 4 because we added 2 more candidates in the last 36 hours, mind you. So this is going to depend on how quickly we move along. Each 3x5 card is worth 30 seconds. Next slide. I'm going to go back one. So each 3x5 card is worth 30 seconds. In a few minutes, I'm going to show you the format. They're going to get a 60-second opening. We're going to have some fun. They're going to get 30 seconds on one issue. We're going to ask a whole bunch of questions. They're going to get another 30 seconds to close. That's more or less it. If at any time they want to say more than I'm letting them say, I might have asked them for a yes/no. I might have asked you guys for a one-word answer. You might say, oh my God, I have to jump in now. That's just fine. Do you know what you have to give me if you want to talk? You got to give me a 30-second 3x5 card because there's 15 of you. And if we let every one of you speak for even 5 minutes, do you know how long that is? Someone do the math. It's a lot. It's more than an hour. Right? How long, honey? Okay. So you got to pay me with your cards if you want to say more about something. And I'm going to let you know it's going to start out a little easier and get a little harder. So if you want to spend all your cards on your very first 60-second speech and make it 4 minutes, you can, but you might not want to. Next slide, please. This is a really, really big responsibility. It is a big responsibility for our candidates to run for Congress because, guys, it's not all about you. It's about representing us. And we know it takes a certain kind of person. Someone should close my door for me. We know it takes a certain kind of person to run for office. This isn't easy to do, but it's not about your ambition or your careers. It's about representing us in Congress, right? And people in this room and online, this is a really big responsibility for us. This is different to have the resistance, the grassroots, the party, all in one place working together. And we need to learn how to do this together. And for the party, and about half the people of us here are the party, whatever that is, it's a really big responsibility because does this look like business as usual to you guys? Who would ever give me the microphone if this was business as usual, right? Nobody. Thank you. Next slide, please. So one of you is going to represent us in Congress. And part of the reason we all became an indivisible group is because words matter. And we love that word, indivisible. You know, indivisible with liberty and justice for all. Next slide, please. So it's our house. It's our rules. This is our home for tonight. And you all gave me the mic, so they're my rules. And that means it's respect and tolerance and transparency. We need to treat each other with respect here, because in the end, we all want the same thing. What we want is to stop this catastrophe in Washington, D.C. And we want to win in 2018. Next slide, please. So I will share with you, not even 2 months ago, I was incredibly fortunate to be invited to participate in a roundtable with Congressman Keith Ellison. And there were only about 24 people in the room, and we each got one question. I waited for my question, and I finally got there, and I asked my question, and Keith Ellison looks right at me and says, "Lisa, breathe." Next slide. Ready, candidates? Everyone take one deep breath. Slowly in. I mean it. Take your breath. You're going to need it. And down. Okay, next slide. Here's the process. Round 1 is the dating game. I got to get my questions. Breathe and keep breathing. Okay, David, hold my mic for me. The pages aren't We are. It's the first part. So while I shuffle through my papers, the candidates are seated in alphabetical order, and for this part, we will start with A. Please introduce yourselves, your name, and where you are from.
My name's Larry Arata, and I'm from Havertown. Larry Arata from Havertown.
Ah, thank you. That's why I have a sound person.
My name is George Beatty, and I spent the first 30 years of my life in South Philadelphia and the last 30 years of my life in Delaware County.
Mary Ellen Balchunas. I was born in South Philadelphia, raised in Delaware County, and endorsed by Montgomery County. Thank you.
Hello, good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Dan Boyle. I was born and raised in Shadsford. And I'm also missing a blue string for my name tag. So I don't want anybody to forget who I am.
So this is the 60-second part, right?
No, this is
Well,
just your name. Where you're
All right, Shelley Chauncey, and I live in Glen Mills.
State Representative Margot Davidson from Upper Darby on the 164th Legislative District.
Julie Apple from Garnet Valley, Delaware County.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thaddeus Kirkland. I'm currently the mayor of Chester, Pennsylvania. I live in Chester, which is also in Delaware County.
You should have 2 mics on each side.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Rich Laser, and I'm from South Philadelphia.
Good evening, everyone. Ashley Lunkenheimer. I was born in Philadelphia. I grew up in Haverford and Boothwyn, and I now live in Upper Providence.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindy Lee. I'm from Philadelphia, but I grew up in Delaware County and went to grade school here.
Hi, I'm Dan Muroff. The first half of my life in Haverford Township. I live in Marple Township now. Went to Haverford High School. Thanks so much.
Mary Gay Scanlon. I grew up along the Canadian border where there are a lot of cows, but I came here to Philadelphia for law school in 1981, and in 1995 moved out here to Delaware County. Lived in the same house for 24 years, and during that time I have lived in the 7th, the 1st, and now the 5th Congressional District.
Hi, I'm Molly Sheehan. I grew up in Delaware and Montgomery counties, and I currently live in South Philadelphia with a family.
Hi, I'm David Wertheim. I was born in Abington, raised in Jenkintown and Haverford, and I now live in Marion Station.
Do we have 2 mics on each side? We have one wired, one wireless. You have one wired there. Is there one more? No. And next slide. So I've lost my first page of questions, but that's okay. Does anyone from Indivisible Mainline South have a printout? Since it was emailed to all of you. So if someone has it, find it for me. Now we are going to let each candidate talk to us, introduce themselves to us, and tell us about themselves. This is not the issue part of the night. You may stand up, you may walk around, you may stay seated, you may come to the podium, whichever you prefer, but you're going to have 1 minute, unless you want to spend a card and spend more time. And what we're going to do, so they're not always following each other in alphabetical order, is I'm going to try to randomly pick one person, and even then, we're just not going to go boom, boom, boom. We're going to go every other to the right the first time, and every other to the left the second time. So does anyone want to volunteer to go first? I saw David first, I'm sorry, right next to him. So how long are you going to spend? A minute 30, that's what one car buys you. Have a mic.
Hi, everyone. I'm David Wertheim. I'm a journalist and I believe facts. So I want to tell you a few hard facts about my family. A few years ago, my mom, is from Haverford, born in York, started to fall a lot. One day, she even forgot my wedding day. That wasn't like her. A few years later, in 2016, we got a diagnosis, PSP, a rare degenerative neurological disorder. My mom now has the care that she needs, and she even gets hospice. My family's really pulled together to care for her. But she gets Medicaid, and she needs it. We need it. That's the only thing standing between my family and financial disaster. So, you know, I think about Donald Trump, and I think about Republicans in Congress, and sometimes I think about what might say about my family behind our backs. They might call us moochers. They might call us losers. My family's done everything right, and I'm proud of us. And I'm running for Congress for the dignity and self-respect of not only families like mine, but every family in this community that's one phone call away, that's one bad diagnosis away, that's one unexpected layoff away from financial challenges and hardships and maybe disaster. I'm running for Congress because I want to thicken, not thin, the net beneath us that allows us to go retrain and retool, that allows us to start a business like I had the chance to do, that allows us to do wonderful things together. So I look forward to getting to know you, and thank you for your time.
I would go every other to the right, and I meant looking at the audience. So somehow, 1, 2. That means George, you're second. Wireless mic?
I'll come over there.
Okay.
I got all my cards and everything.
You want me to hold them for you?
No, that's fine. I'll just use this mic, sure. Thank everybody for coming. This is a fantastic event, and I think
we're all going to be pretty much in agreement on most of the issues. The issue, though, that we're going to have to make a tough decision on is who do we send up against the Republican in November? I've spent my entire life in the 5th Congressional District. I was born and raised in South Philadelphia, and the last 30 years I've spent in Delaware County. I was the first Democrat chosen to run in the rigged 7th District. I was selected to run, I decided to run, I wanted to run, I had the passion, the energy, the experience to do it. And I did it, and the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee made my campaign red to blue, which was the top tier national rating. We had a shot to win. I worked my heart out that year in 2012, but the district was rigged, the lines were rigged. So I want a chance to run in a fair district, and I think I've earned that chance in 2012 the way I've worked. Also, I'm a lifelong Democratic activist. I am the chairman of the Radnor Democratic Party, vice chairman since 2004, and
Which means he knows I won't give him any extra time.
that's right. Lisa is one of our committee people, and
Thank you,
she's gonna,
George.
all right. Well, thank you very much. You know what? I'll pay one more card because I think it should. One more card. I went to South Philadelphia High School, public school, and then I got a mayor's scholarship to the University of Pennsylvania. Then I went to Villanova Law School, and I've been a Democratic activist my entire life. And I'm happy to be here, and I think I've earned the shot for this primary election. So thank you very, very much for being here.
Thank you. All of your hands. See how much fun it is to pay a card? Yeah, here or there?
I go, you know what? Go ahead and give you a card now.
You're giving me a card right at the start. There you go. If only they would work.
Thank you. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Dan Boyle. Excuse me. I'm the youngest of 7. I was born and raised in Chadds Ford. My father was an educator. Once an educator, always an educator. My mom was a homemaker. Probably, arguably, the toughest job of anybody in the world. I went to school at Penn State. Did 2 years at Delaware County campus. I graduated from the main campus with a Bachelor of Science in MIS. I then worked for a few years in operations. I then went to law school at Widener Law School. After law school, I went and practiced law, representing plaintiffs for several years. After that, I went back to school. I got my Master's of Law in Taxation, practiced tax law for the last several years. Went back to school, working on my MBA. We'll have my MBA in about 3 months. All of this accumulates to help me with my understanding of the legal world and the business world. I think all of these things are very important to a candidate. I'd like to thank you for coming out tonight, to supporting me, supporting all of us. I mean, we're all here for essentially the same reason. Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to be honest, Dan. You only spoke for a minute. Get a card back. Every other, that means Margot. Oh, just in case, so I won't interrupt you. There you go. All these things down on your chair.
Hello, I'm State Representative Margot Davidson, and I am the first woman, the first African American, and the first Democrat to represent my seat in the 164th Legislative District. In the red wave of 2010, when there was a tsunami against Democrats across the country, I was one of only 11 in the country to take a Republican seat that year. I am battle tested and I am ready to go. I have not yet declared my candidacy for Congress, but there is a grassroots movement of folks that are asking me to run, that are begging me to run, because they believe that a woman of color should be on the ballot and should be running in the 5th Congressional District. And so I'm here today for the culmination of my public service. This is really a culmination of all that I've given to communities across Delaware County and Philadelphia. I started out my career as a broadcast journalist. I believe that people deserve the truth. They should have great information. They should have good information. Truth matters. And that was the hallmark of my journalistic career. I moved from there in the crack cocaine epidemic of the 80s in Philadelphia. I started a nonprofit organization to help children whose parents were addicted to drugs. that organization still serves Philadelphia today. And this, as a public servant, I believe that the Republican machine in Delaware County did not serve the people, and the people deserve to be served. And that's why, if I run, I will run for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening once again. Thank you, Indivisible, for hosting us, and thank you, Marlboro Newtown Democrats, for inviting us into your house. I do want to recognize the chairman of the Delaware County Democratic Party, David Landau. As stated, my name is Thaddeus Gertman. I'm a pastor of a community Baptist church. I've been pastoring for the last 10 years. I'm also married to the same woman for the last 41 years, Susie Kirkland. We have 5 beautiful daughters. We have 12 beautiful grandchildren. I have lived in the city of Chester all of my life. I've lived in the county of Delaware all of my life. I've served in the House of Representatives for 24 years. And during that time, I had the pleasure of chairing Tourism and Recreation Committee, being the majority chair at one point in time in my career. And if some of you might know, or may not know, that committee is the second largest industry, tourism and recreation, second largest industry in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Also chaired the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus, the first person outside of Philadelphia to ever do that. And so,
as a mother, a former federal prosecutor, and a healthcare advocate, I believe I have the breadth and depth of experience to represent this district. When I was a federal prosecutor, I helped take assault weapons off the streets. I have literally held them in front of juries and seen their reaction to this killing machine. I have had the horrible displeasure of watching videos of drive-by shootings and murders with those weapons. I have also worked as a healthcare advocate, expanding Medicaid and Medicare in this state. And I'm familiar with how important it is and the ways in which we keep our seniors and our communities longer and help our communities become healthier. As a woman married to another woman, I personally, my family has experienced hate. Like so many groups in America are experiencing hate. Hate that is coming from the top of our government, from our president. It's hard to say that. And so I want you to know that I will stand for you, I will fight for you, and I look forward to meeting all of you.
Wires and paper. So I'm Dan Muroff. This is wonderful. Thank you all for coming tonight and for supporting this effort. I just want to take 1 minute. Candidate for the 5th Congressional District, a little bit about us. Look, Molly and I got into this race about a year ago, and it was kind of lonely, and it's kind of exciting now. You got all these people running. It's changed a lot, flavor of it, once the district became more democratic. But I'll tell you, the thing that's going to matter in a district that is so solidly democratic, and this district is who has the most experience? Who has the right experience? I took on the NRA as president of Ceasefire PA, and we beat them. And I took on big polluters as president of Conservation Voters of Pennsylvania. We beat them too. I was also a ward leader in the city of Philadelphia, the most progressive ward in the city of Philadelphia, the 9th Ward Democratic Committee, Chestnut Hill, Mount Airy. Highest vote turnout in the city. I'll be real.
And would you like to pay me?
I'll give you 30 seconds. And the highest. Thank you. Most vote-rich, highest percentage turnout in the city, and we helped drive the effort back in 2015 to turn the Supreme Court democratic. And that's why we have what we have today. Better district lines. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate that.
You're going to just hold it up there.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for hosting this event on such short notice. It's amazing. My name is Molly Sheehan. I'm a cancer researcher with a PhD in biophysics at the University of Pennsylvania. I live in South Philadelphia with my family, and we're moving to Upper Darby soon, hopefully. And I got into this race back in April, like Dan, because I think that we need a new vision for this party. And I think that now that we have a solidly Democratic seat, this is our chance to say, I'm going to vote for the person that most aligns with my values. I'm going to vote for the person that's going to fight for me in Washington. I'm going to vote for the person that has bold ideas, that isn't just going to say a tagline. And I have real plans. I got in early and I've been out there with you for 10 months. I've been out there outside Mian's office with you at the resistance groups. I've been listening to you, and frankly, some of you have pushed me on my policy. I would say I've been out there listening and responsive to constituents. Even Peggy, I've learned all sorts from her about smart guns. And I'm learning from your needs, and I have that commitment as a representative. And I'll give you a card. I got into this race because I want to push for single-payer health care, a real plan to it, for early childhood education, for things like paid family leave and federally funded universal pre-K, and to push for a real tech and new manufacturing sector for southeastern Pennsylvania that we deserve. We have the innovation, bringing a real robust jobs economy for people at every level of education to have real careers that work for them. And so I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to work for you, and I will continue working tirelessly for the 5th District. Thank you.
My name is Larry Arada. I'm from Havertown, born and raised, and there my whole life. I played football at Harvard High School, was all Delco, went to Princeton University, studied politics, and I spent 20 years selling software, application software throughout the country and even internationally. During those 20 years, I always thought about, some of those thoughts I had as a senior at college was to become a teacher. And at every bump in my career, those thoughts revisited me. And when my mom found out about 15 years ago that she was stage 4 cancer, she said, if that's what you always wanted to do, if that's what you always thought God wanted you to do, you should do it, because none of us is guaranteed tomorrow. So I sat with my wife, who's here, and we talked about how we could take a $100,000 pay cut and spend another 20 grand or so to get my master's in education so I could become a public school teacher. And I wanted to be a public school teacher in Philadelphia, where people needed the most. I benefited from an outstanding public school education in Hereford. I had great teachers who turned me in the right direction when I really wasn't going in the right direction in 8th and 9th grade. My teachers, my coaches made all the difference in my life. And I wanted to do that for my students and for my athletes. So for the last 15 years, I've been teaching history and English and coaching wrestling and football in the city of Philadelphia. And besides marrying Heather, it's the best decision I ever made in my life. I've been an active Democrat and an active environmentalist my whole adult life. When they were going to build in Chester, that awful incinerator, I was there with those residents campaigning against it. When we lost that campaign, I sat with Greg Vitale with the DER to make sure that they had a household collection program to make sure that toxics didn't get into that incinerator.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Mary Ellen Valchunas, a political scientist and a Fulbright scholar. I taught political science at LaSalle University for 25 years. I've been a nonprofit executive and an assistant to Mayor Good in Philadelphia. I was also asked to run for Congress in 2014. The party told me that I was going to lose. They said that you're going to run in a gerrymandered district. Little did I realize it was the most gerrymandered district in the nation. In fact, in the federal court case, I was asked to testify, and I learned so much about the red mapping, how sophisticated it was. I realized that I never had a chance to win, that George never had a chance to win, that the system was really rigged against us. So I fought it. Back in 2015, when I kicked off my 2014 campaign, I did a gerrymandering tour. I went through all the 5 counties. The author of David Daly wrote about me in his book. He followed me during the campaign. He called me a heroine for democracy, running against the odds. I ran again in 2016. We thought we could defeat gerrymandering. But again, as I said, there was no way a Democrat could win in that district. But I believe I did a great job of representing you. And I've been working on issues. I did a great campaign in my primary. I defeated a DCCC candidate by 75% to 24%. And I am the only candidate in this race that has gone through a congressional primary. So I have excellent name recognition. I've been on the ballot 4 times for Congress, 2 primaries, 2 general elections. I've run for state committee. People on Democratic State Committee know me.
Save your comment.
I passed 2 resolutions.
You really want to pay again?
Yes. A woman got to do what a woman got to do. I introduced 2 resolutions. One resolution to increase the number of women in federal, state, and local office, because when Hillary lost and Katie lost and all 4 of us women lost for Congress and we received not a penny from the state party, I asked that we receive money, and the resolution passed that women should be given substantial funding when they run. And I had a hard time getting it through the Rules Committee, but it passed unanimously. I also worked on the resolution, the Code of Civil
You sure?
Yes, go ahead. So I worked on the code to against harassment, and that also passed unanimously. So I'm here for you. My issues are even more important now. I've been fighting for the gun issue. I received the Chester County Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence. In fact, I received Governor Wolf's endorsement. I was endorsed by the Philadelphia Inquirer. I had the Congressional Progressive Caucus endorsement, the Planned Parenthood, National Planned Parenthood endorsement, and the National Organization for Women's endorsement. Thank you very much.
That's a smart youth.
Hey, I really want to be Shelley. I'm going to stand in the middle. There you go.
Thank you. My name is Shelley Chauncey. I took my name tag off because I planned on making sure you remember who I am. I am a mother of 3 small children. They attend Delaware County Public Schools. My youngest we adopted 2 years ago, and he was recently diagnosed with special needs. His special needs stem from the fact that he was born addicted to opioids. I'm also a cancer survivor, very recent cancer survivor, and I am in this race because I know what it means to be an average citizen and an average voter in this district, in this state, and in this country. What distinguishes me between all of the other candidates up here, because frankly we're all going to pretty much agree on all of the issues, is that I have spent the last 15 years as a counterintelligence officer with the CIA, and I come with a breadth of foreign policy and national security experience, which plays a critical role in all domestic policy issues. And without an understanding of what is happening in foreign policy and in the government that's there, we can't do anything on a local level. I have, how much time do I have?
4 seconds.
Okay. So I want to thank you, and I would be honored to serve you as your representative in Congress.
Hi, I'm Julie Ebel, and I grew up in Orland, Montgomery County, and I've lived in Montgomery, Chester, and Delaware County almost all of my life. I have my PhD in chemistry from Villanova. I worked for the DuPont company for 17 years before I left to start my own company. I sold that company and retired from that in June of 2016. And full disclosure, up until very recently, I was registered Republican. Like many people, I woke up the morning after the election and I said, oh my God, what has happened? When I knew that I was going to have to do something. And when I marched with the scientists down Market Street, and I heard that chant that said, tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. And I said, I have got to do something more. This was my call to action. So, yes, I am. So, what I feel now in my heart is that this is the time for me to step up to the plate, to do my civic duty. I have been a successful businesswoman, scientist, and I am now a proud Democrat. I hope I'm part of the wave that's coming of people who woke up and said, oh my God, this is not the administration that represents me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank our host for tonight. I want to thank everybody here for coming out. My name is Rich Laser, and you know, I think everybody in this room knows someone like me. You know, I grew up in a working class neighborhood in a union household. My father was a sheet metal worker. My mother worked at the local doctor's office. I live in South Philadelphia with my wife Lindsay and my 2 kids, John and Abigail. I want to know who's representing us. We know the NRA, we know big business has representation in Washington, but what about us? Last 2 weeks ago, I resigned my position with Mayor Kenny as a deputy mayor in his administration, and I was really proud over the last 2 years what we've accomplished. We've rolled out a quality pre-K program for over 2,000 students in Philadelphia. We rolled out community schools all across the city in struggling neighborhoods. We rolled out a workforce strategy plan to roll it out in our neighborhoods that were hit hardest by poverty. And we're attacking criminal justice reform with the MacArthur Grant. This is something that's very important to me, and I really want to earn your vote, and I want to represent you in Congress. I want to thank you again for being out here tonight and listening to all us candidates. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening. Only in America can someone who came from nothing run for Congress. I'm Lindy Lee, the granddaughter of illiterate rice farmers and a first-generation American who came to this amazing country at age 5 with just a few dollars. English is my second language. I'm running for Congress so that you and your family can live your own version of the American dream. Our democracy was hijacked by special interests long before Russia got involved. We've institutionalized bribery. I'd love to do something about climate change, but I can't because Big Oil and ExxonMobil are in the way. I'd love to do something about gun violence and to prevent another Sandy Hook, but I can't because the NRA is in the way. For every single thing that we care about, there's a special interest standing in the way. It's time for integrity. It's time for a new Congress and a new generation of leadership. Serving and helping you would be the greatest honor of my life. Thank you so much.
So I'm Mary Gay Scanlon. I mentioned before, I live in Swarthmore, lived there with my husband and formerly my 3 children, but they're all out of the house now, which is one of the reasons it makes it a good time for me personally to try to run for Congress. As I mentioned, we've lived there for 24 years. I came to the area originally to go to the University of Pennsylvania Law School. After law school, I became a trial lawyer, did that for a while, and then I went into the public interest sector. I had already been doing pro bono work for a number of years, representing children in the abuse and neglect system. I went to work for the Education Law Center of Pennsylvania, and the purpose of that organization is to make sure that every public school student in the Commonwealth has access to a good education. So we worked with Good Schools PA, with a lot of different groups. We had a long-standing class action in the city of Chester trying to reform the very, very broken school district of Chester Upland. We did have the distinction of getting the first fine ever assessed against the Commonwealth Department of Education for failing to meet the needs of kids. But unfortunately, then the Corbett administration came in, and their solution to the problems in Chester was to put in charter schools and to charterize as much of that school district as possible. And we know what a disaster that's been. I left the Education Law Center because I had an opportunity to do something different. For the last 15 years, I've been pro bono counsel at a national law firm. And there I give away tens of millions of dollars worth of free legal services to poor people and to civil rights. Yes, take another card. Yes, so I give away free legal services, and we work on things like providing representation for people who are about to be deported and otherwise wouldn't have it. We provide representation to people seeking clemency. We had 29 of our clients got presidential clemency under President Obama. So 3 times in my life I've really been spurred to step outside of my job role and to take some public action. And the first time was 18 years ago after the Columbine shootings. At that point, I charged school buses to my credit card and took 90 of my neighbors down to the Million Mom March. And I've stayed involved with the gun control activities since then. The second time was when our school district had a bad, thank you, when our school district had a really bad construction project. And Francine Belay knows all about it because she was the teacher rep at the time. We had kids in the middle of construction. It was a disaster. And at that point, we couldn't get answers from the administration, so I ran for school board and served 2 terms with the Wallingford-Swarthmore School Board, was president, served on a tax commission as well there. And the third time has been this year. Since the inauguration, my job has been much more difficult. We've been representing immigrants who are threatened with deportation. We've been representing a variety of voting rights groups around the country because of the constant threat from gerrymandering, strict voter ID laws, etc. So, yes, one more, and then I'll be done. January 19th, all of a sudden, I was no longer going to be in the 1st Congressional District because the state Supreme Court threw out the Congressional Districts. So that was one thing. The second thing is the next morning, Congressman Meehan's on the front page of the New York Times for yet another Me Too incident. So we had the collision of the Me Too issues, which have been very close to my heart. I think probably every woman in this room has been subjected to sexual harassment at some point. And then we also had the voting rights issues. So that was it. That's the point at which I decided I had to run. Thank you.
We made it, right? That's everyone? Amazing, right? Candidates, you have water either under your seats or on the tables behind you, and some candy. There's some water and some pretzels at the end there. Are there people who've been coming in who would like seats? If you have an empty seat next to you, please raise your hand one more time. Please move in and get a seat. You don't need to stand. And I want to remind people at the end of the night, you will have opportunities to sign petitions. You can only sign one petition for Congress. You'll only be able to sign one of their petitions. And we do have at least one notary here. So any of you who've been collecting signatures for other candidates, if you want to get it notarized, you'll be able to do that at the end. Holly, next slide. So now we are on to the dating game. Now I have my notes. Could you guys, I think we need you to try to use microphones. You're going to want to try to unburden yourself of all the things you're holding except your yes, your no, and your waffle. And I'm sorry, on short notice, the only way we could elevate you was with bar stools, so there's no tables in front of you. We need to go rapid fire so we can get a lot of information. If you are a millennial under 35, please put your yes up. When I say hands, use your yes. We have 3 millennials. Any Gen Xers, 35 to 53? Whoop, there we go. Baby boomers. Up to, there you go, baby boomers. Anyone over 65? Okay. Please, a show of hands. Who lives in the 5th Congressional District right now? Who does not live in the 5th? Right now, you do not. You're showing a yes, Molly. Oh, I guess yes, you don't live in the 5th. Correct. Thank you. Yes, no's. And those of you who do not live in the 5th, did you live in the 7th or the 1st? Do you plan to move into the 5th? Yes, yes, yes. All 3 of you plan to move in. Who has ever lived in the city of Philadelphia? Because we all know, everyone in this room, anywhere you went after the Super Bowl, where'd you say you were from? Right? Okay. Who has ever lived in Delaware County? Who has ever lived in Montgomery County? Who has already moved to get into this race? To get into the race? Dan. Who left a job to get into this race? Wow. So, okay, really quickly, we're going to pass this mic. Those of you who have that yes up, if you don't have it up, you don't have to skip. We're just going to pass it. If you left a job to get into the race, please tell us the job you left.
I was entrepreneur in residence at the Lenfest Institute for Journalism in Philly, bringing new innovations new voices into the media ecosystem. It's the organization that owns the Inquirer.
I'm on a leave from a postdoctoral fellowship in bioengineering at the University of Pennsylvania, where I do cancer research.
Morgan Stanley, which allowed me to see firsthand why we need Dodd-Frank and Glass-Steagall.
America Health, where I was working in Medicaid expansion, and it's a government-funded program, and so therefore I left so that I could run for this district.
Deputy Mayor for Labor under Mayor Jim Kennedy, where I handle all labor policy for the city of Philadelphia.
Simultaneously, I left my job as a counterintelligence officer with the CIA, as well as an attorney working with the Pennsylvania election law firm fighting gerrymandering.
Hi, thank you. I was Chief Operations Officer of Counselor Consultants, which is a business and legal consulting firm.
Mary Ellen Balchunas, I gave up my tenure to run full-time in a campaign in 2016.
Thank you all. Anyone else leave a job? It's pretty amazing the job safe left, right? Okay, so you should have a wireless mic on each side. Holly, you have that wireless mic? Okay, you have a wireless mic on each side. You're gonna have to work with me here. Show of hands. Who has seen the Mummers Parade live? Seen it, watched it? Okay, they've seen it live. Who's been in the Mummers Parade? Go ahead, what band? I'm giving it to you. Who have you been with?
The Joker's Faints Brigade.
George?
I've been in the Frailinger String Band for 42 years, and I still play tenor sax.
Okay. Ready?
I have an uncle who was in Quaker City String Band.
Okay, ready? Eagles or Phillies? We don't mean that. Eagles?
Eagles. Eagles.
Who wants? Do we need a cheer? No, we don't have time. We're going to pass the mic. This time we're going to go from Larry that way and from Richard that way. Pass the mic. What is your talent or your sport? Talent or sport?
What is my talent or sport?
Yes. What is your talent or what sport do you play or love or I don't care?
High school, I played football, wrestled, and played lacrosse, and played baseball at Penfield.
Okay, pass the mic. That's a lot of sports.
I played football at Princeton.
Go Tigers.
That's right.
All the way around. Just go, George. Yeah. Talent or sport?
Talent. I play the piano and the saxophone. I was a music major and political science major, double major at the University of Pennsylvania.
Single word answers.
And saxophone.
Pass that mic.
Politics, political scientist.
Hi, I was a wrestler and did a bit of boxing, and now I'm a triathlete.
Shelley?
I played volleyball in college, and now I can build furniture.
Margot?
Volleyball and swimming, and a drama major in high school and minor in college.
Julie?
And I sing. We'll get together later.
Thaddeus?
I love to sing and I love to write. Can I get a 30 seconds?
Yes, you can. Anytime you want. I'm now wired.
I just wanted to get a 30 seconds just to correct the record. Chesterland School District was never broken. What was broken was the Pennsylvania Department of Education and persons in the legislature who are unwilling to go to war and fight for children, such as the children in Chester Upland. So I don't want anybody to think it was broken. It was the Pennsylvania Department of Education.
I love coaching and playing basketball.
Thank you.
I was a two-time All-American rugby player, the first captain ever of the under-23 national team, and in Congress I won't be allowed to tackle anybody, but I know how to do it.
I'm a classical pianist. I've been playing since I was 4, and I sing and I run exactly 5.38 miles every single day at a 7-minute pace. Do you guys understand the sequence 5 Electrical college.
I play piano a little bit, classical guitar actually. I used to perform when I was a kid, and I ride a Softail. I don't know if it's a hobby more than it is actually. But for those of you who know Harleys, you know what we're talking about.
I run mostly because I also like to bake.
I ran competitively in high school and college on championship teams. I've run 7 marathons and 3 ultra marathons, and I play the guitar and now the ukulele thanks to my 3-year-old. And I would say I'm a mom. Probably all of us that are moms feel like that's our talent.
David Wertheim. I've been a Peace Corps volunteer, so I speak advanced Mandarin Chinese, and I run a lot and have completed 4 Philadelphia marathons.
Woo! I guess if you run for Congress, you do a lot, huh? Okay, listen carefully to this question. I'm going to give you all 3 parts. You're going to raise your hand once, the yes, I guess. And I've been asked for the back that you raise it really high because they can't see your answers when they're right here in front of you. Ready? Oh, you can't see them if they don't, some of them can't get in and out of these bar stools. So we're going to, do you cook dinner, load the dishwasher, or bring home the takeout? Who are our cooks? Who cooks dinner? Raise them high. Wow, I'm coming to all your houses. Who loads the dishwasher?
Can we answer more than one?
Sure. Raise them high. And who brings home the takeout? There you go. Okay. Show of hands, high. Have you ever lived in another country? Lived, not visited. Wow. One word. What country? What country?
China.
Scotland.
Uganda. England and China.
France.
You guys have one on the other side? Anyone live on the other end? You must have a mic over there. Holly took it. There you go.
Barbados and Taiwan.
Sweden. Interesting, huh? Okay. Get ready to pass the mics. This time, hand the mics to, we're going to go the other way. We're going to start with Thaddeus on that side. Pass that one there. Pass this one to David. What is your favorite source of news? Favorite source of news?
I probably respect the New York Times the most.
NPR.
Probably since January 2016, The Hill or Politico.
NPR.
Terry Gross, Fresh Air.
Oh, that's hard. Probably, I want to say Rachel Maddow right now because I need her.
Philadelphia Inquirer and the New York Times.
The Delaware County Times.
I knew I was aligned with Ashley because I go with Rachel Maddow.
Schmooze over there. New York Times and Washington Post.
NPR and my 11 and 12-year-old.
Yes, NPR.
New York Times and MSNBC.
Never Fox. Probably NPR.
NPR every day, PBS News every night, and the Inquirer every morning.
Thank you. You got, okay. You made it through round 2 of the dating game. Next, every candidate is going to speak for only 30 seconds. Next slide, please. About, next slide. Next slide. About one, no, one before. About, before. About one core Democratic issue. We can count, right? They get to talk about one issue. They can either talk about the core Democratic issue that they feel strongly about and want to talk about, or if they feel that there is one issue that you have to believe in, one position that you have to take to run as a Democrat in this race, you are welcome to talk about that issue. I'm letting people know it is 7:30, and I know you all like to use your cards, but we are now reducing the number of cards to 4 so that we get to talk about enough different things. So everyone now has to give me 1 card, because it was meant to be 4, not 5, when we went to 15. Everyone has to give me 1. Thank you. That's okay. Holly, can you grab that side for me? Okay, so last time we went every other to the right, and I was standing over here. Who would like to go first on this side? Anyone? George, this time we are going every other to the left. So we're going that way every other. Does that make sense? We're going to go George and then Molly. 30 seconds, your one core Democratic issue you want to talk about. You will have one more chance to give a 30-second something, and you can spend cards. One core Democratic issue.
To run as a Democrat, you have to believe in X. You have to believe in the rule of law. Because with the Trump administration, we are threatened. The rule of law is at risk. Never in our history in this nation have we been so at risk. So we need to send people to Congress who are strong, who are knowledgeable, experienced, who will stand up for the rule of law.
Thank you. Molly.
I'm running because we need policies that improve the economic stability of people's lives. The number one thing we can do for people's lives is provide universal single-payer health care. As someone who works in healthcare, I know that we need people at the helm of this who understand the intricacies, and that insurance also isn't healthcare. We need to expand providers. If you have to drive 2 hours to see a doctor, you don't really have healthcare. If drugs aren't developed in women, and women have all these adverse effects and the drugs don't really work for them, you don't really have healthcare. And we need to make sure that we're moving to a payment system that really works by reducing healthcare costs. And I have a real plan. I'll give you a card. I have a real plan to implement single-payer health care, one that takes in the jobs economy of this area that is so heavily dominated by healthcare, one that makes sure that doctors and nurses and all the staff still get paid really well, and one that makes sure that we don't induce an austerity of care and that we put up political firewalls so the same misogynists in Congress that are saying pregnancy is a pre-existing condition are not being deciding what is on our plans.
So I care about gun violence prevention. I care about the environment. I care about healthcare. I want to lead on all these things, but one thing that I think as Democrats that we need to do is we need to make sure that we don't give short shrift to working people and also the security that we have committed over the past 70 years as a sort of a deal that we've made with America. That is to say that we have Social Security, that we have Medicare, Medicaid, we have a safety net, but we also have something for people to look forward to. If I talk to young people today, the thing that they talk about all the time, okay, well, no, I'm not going I'm going to save my money. Social Security is going to go away, it won't be there for them.
But I don't know if I can lose it anyway. My core issue is our children. I think that having children is the greatest act of optimism that we do. And if we need to leave a better world for our children, they need to be safe, they need to have good education, they need to have health care so that they can go on to have jobs. So everything we do as a people, we have a responsibility. They're the ones standing up right now. They're the voices to power right now. And we need them and they need us. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm running because I basically live through what some of you just read about in the newspapers. When we talk about gun violence in our communities and what happened in Florida with those young people, and a lot of folks don't understand what really happened. We didn't just lose a number of young persons, we lost generations to come. Many of those young persons did not have the opportunity to birth a child. And so therefore we lost generation after generation. And so I'm running because I want to make gun violence reduction, and I want to make sure that we remove weapons of war, because that's what they are. Weapons of war from these stores, from these racks, and move them out of our country. Because our young people, we're losing young people each and every day. It's not enough to talk about it. What we just experienced in Florida, I've talked to some young people in my district, and I tell the educators, we have to, although this was a lemon situation, we have to learn how to make lemonade out of it. And that means take the reins and walk with these young people as they stand against gun violence and as they stand against weapons of war.
Thank you.
economic and social justice. I believe what Gandhi said, that poverty is the greatest evil perpetrated against mankind. It affects everything. It affects our health care. It affects our right to choose. It affects everything, our education system. Why is it that poor children and children of color are relegated to the worst schools and unsafe neighborhoods? Because people don't care. So economic justice is very important, and that's what I'm fighting for. The other thing, I'm going to give you a card. I've been in the forefront of the movement for hashtag Time's Up. I have Time's Up legislation in Harrisburg. Every woman should be able to go to work, school, and in their home in safety. We should not be harassed, we should not be abused, and we should not be subjected to the horrible conditions that women have had to face in silence for centuries. Hashtag Time's Up.
My issue is jobs. Jobs, jobs, and jobs. More jobs, better paying jobs. A livable minimum wage, $15 an hour, absolute. You take the super elite, the super rich, they have no idea what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck, to work 2, 3 jobs, to work 12, 15, 20 hours a day, to be scared about losing your house. How are you going to feed your family? These are all vital issues. Now, how are we going to do this? As I said, I'm not only an attorney, I'm a businessman, okay? I have my Master of Laws in Taxation. I studied the Internal Revenue Code. Okay, that was part of my job, is to figure out how finances should be, how they should be determined, how they can be created, how they can benefit us. In order to provide more jobs, we can provide, one thing is the infrastructure. We need to create better infrastructure. This haggling with having crumbling roads, crumbling infrastructure, we're reactionary. We cannot be reactionary. We must be proactive, okay? I know how. The Internal Revenue, if we look at the first tax return, I have a copy of it. It is so simple. It is a basic one-page form, okay? This now takes a team of tax attorneys, specially trained individuals, to file returns now, and it's all done for the benefit of the lobbyists and the large corporations. I know. I've been asked to provide guidance and advice. No. I've got one more. And what happens is, it should be simplified. They should be made to pay a higher rate. How much money do these people need? How many millions and billions of dollars? I know individuals that have not worked for 6 generations. 6 generations of individuals not having to work because they have so much money. They couldn't spend the money. They could not spend all the interest they make in 1 month. Okay? This is completely irrational. It's immoral, and we need to do something about it. We need to create more jobs, and we need to do this now. Thank you.
How I know it's getting long? I don't know where I started before. Where did I start this round? With George. Like every other.
So it's very
I know.
What
did you skip?
You didn't go 2, you went 3 when you went around.
Did I go 3 every?
So you need.
What do I need to do?
Just go down with the
Just hasn't gone.
Just go down with
As a college professor, I'm really concerned about gun safety. We can't send our children to school. We can't send them to a movie theater. We can't send them to a concert. I'm a Million Mile Marcher. I marched in 2000 after Columbine. I thought things would get better. We lost a Congresswoman Gabby Giffords. We had Sandy Hook, and this Congress did nothing. If you're serious about gun safety, you need to change this Congress. And I'm also, as a college professor, interested in the high interest rates on student loans. I've seen students graduate with $100,000 in debt.
Thank you,
It's
Mary Ellen.
obscene. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, as I was speaking before, I've been an environmental activist my whole life, so the environment's very important to me. When they were going to put in an ash dump on Township Line that borders Drexel Hill and Haverford Township, I spoke at the DER meeting against that terrible idea, and we like that giant food store and that shopping center there a lot better than a toxic ash dump. When they were going to overdevelop along the Springton Reservoir, our water source, I spoke at the DER meeting against that overdevelopment. So I've always been active in grassroots environmental movements here in Delaware County my entire adult life. I'm a public school teacher, so obviously I care a great deal about education. I helped the unionization process at Omni Charter in the first year of that attempt. They persevered after I left, and they finally did unionize there, and I congratulate them. So I know how important it is to have the right to unionize and have a union to protect the quality of our education and our teachers. My wife and I lost our son, 23-year-old son, in December, on December 9th, to an overdose. And that's why I'm running for office, is because I formed, along with Heather, we formed Opioid Crisis Action Network to lobby organizations to do something about this issue. And we researched, we talked to doctors, we talked to drug addiction counselors, we talked to insurance executives at IBC, and we're still doing that. And the more and more we talked to these people, the more we learned, the more frustrated we got with the lip service that this issue is getting. And I intend to solve this issue and be part of a network that solves this issue as an activist, whether I win or not. So we need to solve this biggest health crisis that this nation has ever had. And we can do it together.
Incredibly sorry we are to hear about your son. Appreciate that you're here to talk about it.
Thank you.
Everyone on this side go? Shelley? Have the cards ready. Good.
I'm running because I'm tired of hearing politicians and representatives continuing to say, I'm going to fight for this person that doesn't have health insurance. I'm going to fight for this person who doesn't have a good job. I'm going to fight for this person who isn't able to go to a good school. I am that person. As a cancer survivor, I know personally what it means to live in fear every day of losing your health insurance and your family going bankrupt because you don't have the money to pay for it. I live personally every day, paycheck to paycheck, to make sure that my children had food on their table. I am sick and tired of politicians in Washington and locally who are trying to represent us when they have no idea what we live every day, when they have no idea what it means to live paycheck to paycheck. I'm tired of the wealthy elite who can come in and fund their campaign with hundreds of thousands of dollars and think that it's okay to pretend that they can talk about what it's like to be a citizen of this district and of this state and of this country, because they have no idea. And until they've had to sit in the lobby of the intermediate unit of Delaware County to beg and plead for services for their child who has special needs, and 6 months later that child still does not have services. This is unacceptable to me. It is unacceptable to me that we have people who are our friends and our relatives who are dying every day because they don't have health insurance that is able to save their life. They were not as lucky as I was. They were not able to have quality health insurance, the same health insurance that your congressional representatives and members of Senate have. That is fundamentally unfair.
One side at a time. And you're giving me at the start?
I'll give you one.
Okay, so that's 60 seconds.
Yes. So I think the number one, and the reason that I'm running, is integrity, the lack thereof in Congress and in this administration. I know that when you get into business, it's difficult. I myself have been tested, and I can say that I'm very proud to have a very strong track record of integrity. If we had people in Congress who would speak the truth to us, even if we didn't like to hear it, we could deal with it. But the lies we cannot deal with, and it really has got to stop. And I think it starts with reforming our campaign system. People can't afford $4,000, $4 million, $10 million to run a campaign. This should be about electing the people who are the best for the job, regardless of how much money they have. And I do also want to say that I thoroughly agree, Dan, that we need jobs. I'm very proud of my record of having created jobs in Delaware County. I think this is where the beginning of leveling the economy is to have good paying jobs for people. And I think that although balancing a budget is a difficult task with all of the things we want to accomplish, I think that we can do it. I think that if we put our mind down to it, we can figure out how to balance.
Running for Congress because right now in the White House we have a president who is a sociopath. We have a Republican Party that is enabling him to do these things and to break apart our democracy. Every day, working families are being... Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. Every day we have working families in this country that are living paycheck to paycheck. In Washington, we have folks where big banks are being chosen over working families, the NRA over our kids, and insurance companies over people. And it's a sickening thing. And I want to say one thing, and I don't want to bring this up. Yeah. There's a case in front of the Supreme Court right now, the Jess case, and it's extremely important to everybody in this room. That case, the way everybody thinks it's going to come out, is that public sector unions are going to be gutted by this Supreme Court, and they're going to be all taken out. And they're right now, when I was in Philadelphia and we worked with the PFT to get them a fair contract after 5 years finally, these are the folks that are teaching our children. And we need to make sure that they have fair working conditions and they can collectively win. And right now, in this country, that's going to be taken away from them. I'm running for Congress to be part of the resistance, and I want everybody in this room to hopefully support me so we can run a progressive agenda. And Medicare for all, that's extremely important.
I decided to run for Congress on December 14, 2012. 20 first graders and 6 teachers were senselessly slaughtered. December 14th is also my birthday. And I just remember being eternally scarred. When did we decide it's okay for our children to be murdered like that? This is not a status quo that I'm willing to resign myself to. There's an episode in The Simpsons, and the gun shop owner talks to the person coming up to the front desk, and the guy trying to buy a gun says, "I need a gun today, right now." And the shop owner says, "You can't, you have to wait 3 days." And the guy trying to buy a gun says, 3 days? I can't wait 3 days. And that's the entire point. We need common sense gun violence prevention measures.
I'm running because facts matter, and there seems to be a real dearth of facts in DC right now. Okay, the fact is that Hillary won the popular vote. The fact is that the Republicans have worked very hard through their red map strategy to undermine our democratic institutions, whether it's through gerrymandering or strict voter ID or other attempts to marginalize a lot of voters who happen to be Democrats. I'm running because facts matter with respect to immigrants. Okay, we represent a lot of immigrants in my firm who have come to this country because they are hardworking and they're seeking a better life. And I'm running because the fact is we do not have enough women in Congress.
Anyone left? Has everyone had? David, have you done this one?
Yeah, I've done it.
Okay. Giving me a couple cards, so that's 90 seconds.
I'm sorry, Larry, I just want to thank you for sharing your story. I hadn't heard about that, and I'm so sorry, and thank you. So, so I'm a little knocked off my base here. So I've been a Peace Corps volunteer teaching English to children, young folks from Chinese farming families. I've worked as a teacher with the AmeriCorps, reading to little boys and little girls in a Section 8 housing project in New Haven. I built a journalism business and helped to discover writers that nobody had paid attention to before, but are now superstars in their field. I've stood by my mom, hand in hand with her, as her disease has taken from her the ability to walk, to use her arms, to feed herself. So what do you have to believe to run as a Democrat? I think you have to believe the values that I learned from my teachers and my friends and my loved ones in this community. The values that I learned from you. That a special, unique light burns in each one of us. That each one of us is worthy of dignity and respect and investment from the community and from our government. And that we can't tolerate a government that sees us as cost centers, because we're not. We're human beings. We're vulnerable, we're imperfect, sometimes we fall, but we're worth it. Thank you.
I think the quality and the passion of the 15 people we have running for Congress here tells us why our room is overflowing and why the resistance and the party have grown so much in strength over the last year. Does anyone need to stretch up front or in the audience? Get a drink, get a snack. It's okay, you can. Okay. How many cards do you all have left? Because that's how we can judge time. One. How many? You have 3, George? Wow. 1. Any merit? 0. Sorry, 0. So I have 90. Wait. 1.5, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 5, 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10, 11, 11.5, 12.5, 13 minutes of speeches left. Okay, I'm going to let people shift if anyone wants a seat. That's subversive. Okay. Ask me what? Do you have time to run to the bathroom? Yes. Go, run. I'm not going to make you not go to the bathroom. What? Maybe. She doesn't have to give a card. Everyone, it's been long already. So, you know what? I'm going to remind people that there's petitions out there, and everyone's going to stretch. And I'm going to use this for one more piece of business. You can listen to me talk. I need 3 young Dems to help me out. 3 young Dems to help me out. Anyone? Listen, you're here. Have anyone else young? And Carlene, are you in here?
Not young.
Okay, back in your seats. Back in your seats. Everyone back in your seats. Everyone's back in your seats. It's okay. Now listen, we're never going to get out of it. Everyone back in your seats. Everyone, audience and panel. Everyone back in your seats. We are starting right now. Okay. So we had a lot of debate. One last piece of indivisible mainline South business. We are not a 501c3. We don't raise money. We made a conscious decision that we didn't want to do any of the things involved in raising money. So everything we do on a volunteer basis. We put this event on in about a week, and we've spent almost $1,000 out of our own pockets. So there are people on all three sides with envelopes or all three aisles. Raise your hands if you have an envelope. Someone over there, Linda, Alyssa, go down the middle aisle. If you want to donate something to this venture, it will allow us to do more things. If you don't, we'll do fewer things. So we thank you, and no one is obligated, but we wanted to give you the chance to contribute to how we're doing things here. So we're going to skip a whole section. You guys are spared a lot more of those yes/no questions. I'm going to ask for the sake of time. Some of you have saved time. Some of you have none left. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. We have 3 very detailed questions, exactly the kinds of questions that you will need to vote on, people. One taken right out of Congress about the budget in DACA. One that's in the news and they talked about all day today about guns. And the third one about health care. Our indivisible group, our leadership group, disagreed on all 3 of these issues. We worked for a gazillion hours in the last week, and we still like each other, and we still disagreed. So what we're going to do is it's going to be up on the screen. I'm going to read you the detailed question because it has too many words to be able to read it all. So whichever way you learn, if you need to get up and read it. And then We're going to show you how our leadership group voted because we want to model for both you guys and for the audience. The reasonable people who work really hard at these things can disagree. We're going to ask the audience, we're going to ask you to close your eyes, turn around, no peeking. We're going to ask the audience to vote, and then we're going to ask you to vote. And so, for those of you who do have cards left, if you want to explain, the issues that are coming up are the budget/DACA deal, guns, and health care. I'm giving you an opportunity to plan. They are hard questions because you want to run for a very, very hard job to represent all of us. Are we ready? Any questions about what we're doing? You ready? This is audience participation. Next. Sorry, it's little print. Earlier this month, another short-term budget bill passed thanks to 73 Democrats in the House who joined Republicans backing the measure. The bill raises military and domestic spending by almost $300 billion over the next 2 years, including nearly $90 billion in disaster aid for Texas, Florida, California, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. The federal government's debt limit will also be extended until March 2019. Speaker Nancy Pelosi spoke on the House floor for an unprecedented almost 8 hours in protest and urged her members to vote against the bill. However, Senator Chuck Schumer, who crafted the deal, praised it for including funding for education infrastructure, fighting drug abuse and medical research, and increasing it for the first time in years. This bill included funding CHIP and increased spending for treatment of opioid addiction, treatment and prevention. However, the bill fails to protect young people known as dreamers or DACA recipients whose protection was due to expire on March 5th. When they voted, it was due to expire on March 5th until the court voted for that bill. How many people would have voted for that bill? Quietly. How many people would have voted no for that bill? Put your hands down. I will show the candidates your votes after they vote. This is an up-down vote. There is no discussion till everyone votes. You can show your eye. You can look again. Okay, candidates. How many, this bill, Jamie Malley, this bill happened in Congress. How many of you would have voted for that bill? Put your hand, actually, could you stand up and put your hands up high? People in the back can't see you. That is Kirkland and Shelley Chauncey. And how many of you would have voted against the bill? Everyone else. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for voting, not a single waffle. Audience, show, oh, who waffled? I'm sorry, George, waffle. Okay, you can, after you see the audience vote, you can spend your card. Audience, show the candidates how many of you would have voted for the bill. How many of you would have voted against the bill? Thank you. And George, you are spending the card to talk about your waffle.
I waffled on that because I think it's important to realize that an effective member of Congress is going to be somebody who's persuasive, who has experience and knowledge of government, who's been around for a long time, as I've been. And I think when you get down there, compromise is vital. So some of the things there I agree with, other things I feel strongly against. But I think it's important that it's hard to do it black and white on this kind of an issue. But I think it's important to be able to compromise. That's what's so poorly missed in Washington now, and it's part of the gerrymander. So, did I use my 30 seconds?
You did.
All right, thank you. Oh, yeah.
I think that when we allow our government to hold the human rights of certain groups of people hostage for a budget, first we shouldn't be funding our government with short-term budget measures to begin with. And then the Republicans failed to do their job despite having the entire government under their control. And then held out the basic human rights of a group of people. I'm married to an immigrant. I'm in a majority-minority household, I will say. And we can't allow our government to do this to people. It sets a horrible precedent to say that we can do whatever we want as long as, we're putting a budget in pork with it.
So, we're trying to keep the family. And we lost our computer feed, so we're having a, let me just pause for a sec so I have to Put your hand next. Remember, we still have guns at home here. You spent Go.
As someone who served in the House of Representatives for 24 years, you have to learn the art of compromise. You would hope that you can get everything that you go to the table to get. Unfortunately, that is not the way politics works. And so you live to fight another day. You get some things, you lose some things, but you continue to fight for the things that you know are right for your district.
Thank you.
I first want to say that I don't disagree with anything that's been said already. But what I will say is in that bill, there was funding for CHIP, there was funding for U.S. Members of service and people, U.S. government employees who stood the risk of losing their jobs. And to me, it was holding one hostage group over holding another hostage group. Do we choose the Dreamers or do we choose the U.S. government employees who are at risk of losing their jobs? And while I wanted to waffle like George, I ultimately decided that there were too many positive things in this bill, and that's why I voted yes.
I wanted to explain my no vote on this. You know, immigrants and specifically the Dreamers are a part of our country. They're a part of our communities and makes us stronger. And to a lot of these Dreamers have served in the military, and it's a disgrace. If they came over here with their parents and youngies, it would be a disgrace that we would send them back and not deal with this issue. This issue needs to be dealt with. And if we have to vote no to get that issue in front of it and to get that issue solved at the board, because again, we are stronger by diversity.
There's some things you can never learn within the pages of a textbook. You have to suffer through it. You have to feel it. I know the pain of counting pennies. And so I view everything through the lens of fiscal responsibility. What happened to the deficit hawks? You know, all of a sudden, President Obama's gone. They don't care about blowing up the debt. And that's the angle that I took.
Get everyone. Drop my paper. So I'm going to ask you the easy question on guns. I'm going to ask you the easy question on guns first. Ready? How many of you would agree today to not accept any funding, direct, or you have to stand up, direct or indirect, from the NRA? Someone take a picture of them, please. That's what we want to tweet out. Someone right in the middle. We're really clear in the 5th Congressional District that no one is going to take money from the NRA. Okay, now for the harder questions, because we don't want to make it easy for you. Okay. When in Congress, if you have the opportunity to vote for a bill which in a meaningful and substantial way increased background checks, universal background checks, and prevented felons, terrorists, and domestic abusers from buying guns, and prohibited bump stocks, I'm having trouble with this one, but did not ban assault weapons or high-capacity magazines, would you vote for this bill? Okay. Put your, oh, you're ready to all vote? You don't want to get, fine, vote. Would you vote for it? Do we have any no's among the candidates? Rich? Margot would not vote for it. Rich would not vote for it. David, would you? You would vote for it. Okay, but Rich and Margot, you would not. Mary Ellen? You're waffling. Don't talk yet. I want you to know. So just so you know, next slide. Indivisible Mainline South, 3 of us would have voted for it. 4 of us would have voted against it. And from the last bill, 3 of us switched positions, the yeses and no's, and it split a family. Audience, do you need me to repeat that? It voted for it. That bill included a lot of things, real universal background checks, no bump stocks, but it did not ban assault weapons. How many of you would have voted for it? How many of you would have voted against it? Interesting, right? And who would like to spend their money? Who has money left to spend to discuss their vote? Mary Ellen doesn't. Fiscal responsibility. Anyone? Okay. Our final big question. It's complicated. Okay. This is from the New York Times. I didn't make it up. They're not my words. The title of the article was "The Best Healthcare System in the World. Which one would you pick?" It was published on September 18, 2017 in the New York Times. I quote, "Medicare for all, or single payer, is becoming a rallying cry for Democrats. This is often accompanied by calls to match the health care coverage of, quote, the rest of the world, quote. But this overlooks a crucial fact. The rest of the world is not all alike. The commonality is universal coverage, but wealthy nations have taken varying approaches to it. Some relying heavily on the government, as with single payer, and some relying more on private insurers, others in between." Next slide. There are two questions. Do you want the audience to vote first, or do you go, wait, do you guys just want to jump in? Just let you vote. The first question, two separate questions. Do you support access to affordable quality health care for all, what we all call universal health care? Audience, do you support universal health care? That's the easy question, right? Any no's? Anyone who doesn't support universal health care? Anyone who doesn't support universal health care? Okay. The second part of the question. Now this is kind of complicated, okay? Would you support incremental movement towards single payer? Incremental, or would you only support bills in Congress, positions that say, we will only vote for single-payer health care all at once. No in-between steps. I will only vote for single-payer health care and nothing else. Candidates, who among you supports incremental steps towards single-payer health care? Stand up so people can say, incremental steps towards single-payer health care. Wow, you're unified on that too. Audience, incremental steps. Anyone here all at once? We should not vote yes for anything except single payer. The only thing, yes. Medicare for all is not that. Okay, I'm not going to. Okay, that's right. That's beyond the scope. Okay. Let's see. It's 8:10. We had a ton of other questions for you guys, but we skipped them all because you all talked a lot about yourselves. Who has cards left? Okay, so it's 8:10. Are you guys getting tired? Yes. No. Here's what I'm going to do. You get a final couple words. What you get to tell people is, I'm going to be hanging out. I have my petitions. Come talk to me about X. I'll give you a couple sentences, but not a whole 30 seconds. If you want to spend one card, if you have it, you can have another 15 seconds to bring you up to 30 seconds. I'll bring, you saved, okay.
So we're getting punished?
No. How many of you saved cards? 2.
Right.
Okay, we're going to be here about another 20 minutes, guys. You got it, 15, but remember your audience. No, we're gonna let them recess through it all. I do want to remind people that both state candidates, not just House, and candidates will be signing petitions. We are so thankful for all the people that helped us. I want you to know that people in the Democratic Party, people in the resistance groups were incredibly generous. People I had never met. They returned our calls. They gave us feedback. They helped us get to our incredible sound system. Thank you, Chris. We could not have done this without him. And now you all, let's see, 30, skip forward, Holly, so they can see. Keep going. What would you like them to ask you about out there for the petition signing? And your last word. We've gone right every other, we've gone left every other, and I get confused if I make it too complicated. Is there someone who wants?
Start in the middle, work out. Start in the middle, work out.
Start in the middle, work out in order. Patty Surich, who wants to go? What would you like people to talk to you about? And 30 seconds if you're paying cards, give them to me all up front, and we'll tell people if you're paying me, tell me. 60 seconds.
I need you. So I'd love to ask you. I would love to ask me about any issues that are important to you. One thing that is extremely important to me is public service. I've done my whole career, which I'm only 32, but in my time at LaSalle and through my time with the mayor, you know, public service is extremely important to me. And serving others, I believe, truly makes you happy in life. So that's the goal. I want to serve this district. I want to serve the people in this room. I want to represent you in Congress. And I look forward to speaking with you hopefully after this and also to get to know you better. Thank you so much and have a great night. And thank you for coming again. Thank you for everybody that was here and the organization.
Thank you. Go back.
Once again, thank all of you for being here tonight.
60 seconds.
For simply listening to us. If I would ask you to ask me something about myself or what you would like me to talk about, it would be, I would ask you to ask me about my commitment, and also I would like you to ask me about my service and my dedication, along with my longevity. Once again, I've been a member of the House of Representatives for 24 years, served over 2.5 years as mayor of the city. I have the experience to go to Congress and not only fight, but get things done. To be able to reach across the aisle, to be able to compromise, to be able to work on behalf of persons like yourself. And so, before you leave here today, it is my plea, if I am fortunate enough to be the Congressman of the 5th District, the only way I can be that is if you sign my petitions. And so I'm asking you from the heart, Thaddeus Kirkland, be so kind as to sign my petitions and come on back and ask me anything that's on your heart. Thank you so much.
I saved all 4 of my cards, but I won't do that to you. I would like you to ask me about anything and everything. I'd like to hear what matters to you. And we are smart people fighting for them. So first of all, we need to win this seat. We need to put a check on Donald Trump and his administration and the Republican congressional leadership enabling them. We need to fight the opioid crisis. I've been fighting it since before it was nationally known. We need to stop gun violence. I have prosecuted cases in which there were 9 murders in 11 months on 1 square block in the city of Chester. That is unacceptable. There are children in that district. Widener University, where our young people are getting good educations, is right across the street. Facts do matter. We all need health care. So please ask me anything and everything. I hope you will support me. I hope you will sign my petition. Thank you.
I have 1 card left. I have to say that there is really nothing that I've heard here today that I could disagree with. I think that everybody's got their head screwed on the right way. We have got to turn Pennsylvania blue. That's the #1 thing that has to come out of this. I do feel that I would be an excellent candidate for Congress. I think that my business experience and my life experience positions me well to do that in a way that is ethical and that reaches across the table. In the meantime, I hope that all of us will attempt to continue to talk to people who are Republicans, who are unsure about where to go or how to vote. That being said, I think I'll turn the mic over.
Thank you very much. Lindsay, how many questions? You have 90 seconds.
I believe that climate change, is my mic on?
Yeah?
I believe that climate...
Is that not on? Hello?
Talk right into it.
Third time.
I believe that climate change is one of the defining issues of the 21st century. What's the point of having piles of cash if you can't even breathe clean air and clean water? One of the reasons why I love America and I'm so grateful to be here is that I come from a country where people live, their lives are 10 years shorter because of the severe pollution. Just this week, I want to share some good news with you. I've been working with the Sierra Club on shutting down the Brunner Island Power Station. Did you know the Philadelphia area has the 5th highest number of asthma cases in the country? That is not okay. So today, or this week, we forced them to install pollution controls because you deserve better than that. Thank you. I'm Lindy Lee. I would love for you to sign my petition, and thank you so much for your time tonight.
Marco, do you have any cards? Okay, how many? That means you have 60 seconds. Thank you.
I'm Margot Davidson, and if you want to be a part of a grassroots movement to get me on the ballot, I would ask that you see Bernicia at the end of this meeting. Stand up, Bernicia. I believe in grassroots movements, and I was a part of one in 2010 that began to turn Delaware County blue in 2010. I want to do that again here in 2018. I have been a leader on gun reform. I've been a leader on pay equity. I've been a leader on so many of the issues that House Democrats have fought for over the last 8 years since I've been in the House. And I am the only female experienced legislator that is on this stage right now. And I ask for your help if you want to see someone like me be in Congress and to fight the good fights. I know how to fight against Republicans, and I know how to fight with House Democrats. And the reason I can say no to some of those issues and take a very hard line is because the Republicans have made us make false choices. And I say no to those false choices. We should not have to choose between whether or not we care for our babies or care for our elderly. That's a false choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. 2 minutes.
Ooh, this has been a long night.
Yeah.
But it's good. And thank you, Lisa, Abu and Shelley around here, all the folks who, and all the folks from Indivisible, and Marple, Newtown Dems, and Claude. Actually, I think it's just terrific what everybody's doing. It's just inspired. I mean, these rooms are just so packed. My wife is here with me, and actually Melissa, who is my inspiration, and also just supports me through every cockamamie thing that I choose to do in my life. And Andrew Heyman is here, right back there. So either one of them and me will be out here afterwards. So if there's want to sign our petition, love that if you would do that. I didn't tell you too much about my bio. I'm just going to say this very briefly. I was raised in a union household. My mother was on the picket lines. When I was a kid, she was fighting for those causes. That matters to me. Her values, they're my values. I want to go to Washington and fight for those as well. That's why I'm doing this. I was raised in Havertown, went to public schools throughout. But another thing I had as a challenge, I had a sister who had a very severe substance abuse problem. And like Larry, not like Larry. But I lost my sister to substance abuse some 20 years ago, to heroin. And I want to fight for more treatment dollars, because I think this administration in particular has given short shrift to them. I worked on Capitol Hill, was chief of staff to a member of Congress for 4 of the 7 years that I worked there. And here in Pennsylvania, when my wife and I returned, I've been fighting for causes like gun violence prevention. Not just fighting for it, and like everybody else here is, but I've been doing it for 10 years. I was president of Ceasefire PA. I was president of Conservation Voters. When I worked on Capitol Hill, I worked on issues like gun violence prevention. I worked on issues like labor and healthcare and the environment. And I want to continue to fight for those things if I'm elected. And what I'm saying is that I am ready on day one. I'm the person here who has experience, who's worked in this arena, and I'm ready to take on day one. That's what we need. Thanks so much.
Shelley, you have 60 seconds. Thank you.
I'm not a career politician. I never intended to be. I never intended to run for an office like Congress, but I got into this race because it's personal. It's personal to me about the commitments that people make to us and then they fail to live up to them. It's personal to me that our children are having to go to school every day in fear for their lives, and to prisons with metal detectors and armed security guards and, God forbid, hope not teachers. Our children need someone that can go to Washington and fight for their right to go to school in peace. and to receive a quality education. But what I most want you to ask me about is my service to my country. I've spent my entire life in public service to my community or to my country. The last 15 years, I've been serving my country as a counterintelligence officer with the CIA. That may sound scary, but what I did was bring our men and women home. I made sure they were safe. I rescued hostages that were overseas. I fought hard to bring them back, and I've been in the room when people have lost their loved ones.
Thank you.
Ask me about that.
Thank you. No clock, 30 seconds.
Mary Gay Scanlon. So I'm happy to answer any questions that people have, and you can go to scanlonforcongress.com and find out where we're going to be, or email a question. I'd rather you ask the people in this room that I've worked with and the people in the community. So whether it's the teachers I've worked with at Wallingford-Swarthmore, the people I've served on the board with, people from the many Delaware County nonprofits and Philadelphia nonprofits, the Mummers Museum, Garrett Williamson Foundation, Chester East Side Ministries, Fair Districts PA. Ask the people I've worked with. I think they'll tell you that I'm hardworking, I look for solutions, and I try to bring people together. So thank you.
Thank you. You have cards. You have a minute.
Certainly ask me anything, about anything. What I want you to know about me is that I'm a fighter, okay? I will fight for you, your causes. I'm not a career politician. This is new to me, but that's a great thing. We've heard from leaders in this community. They're tired of the same old, same old. I'm tired of the same old, same old. We're all tired of the same old. We need new blood, new ideas, new people, okay? The political gerrymandering has got to stop. I'm here to fight for you. This is not about me. It's not about us. It's about you. Healthcare. I don't just talk the talk. I walk the walk. I'm a volunteer board member on Damien Healthcare Center. It's a mental health institution, mental health services provider. Okay, we fight every day for dwindling pennies for mental health and abuse. Okay, I deal with this on a daily basis. I know what it's like. I volunteer on another board. I chair another board, the Kennett Area Community Service. They help homelessness and financial assistance to those who are under-resourced. Every day we have to fight. I deal with government people. I know what it's like. I know what this administration is doing. So please, help me sign my petition, and thank you.
Okay, give this back. It's going that way. So you have a minute.
I hope you asked me about my service. Outside of my career in the sciences, I have gone to rural Uganda to do grant writing initiatives with orphan communities to start sports programs. I've served as a Quaker youth pastor in the Philadelphia area. I have served on boards for purchasing group health insurance and founding member of a task force that built a Mandarin immersion program in the Philadelphia public schools. And I hope you ask me about my policy. I hope you ask all of us about our policy, more than our yes, no's, and what our real plans are. And then I also hope you ask me what I can do for you, because I want you to tell me, really. I want you to tell me. I've been learning about the pipeline, I've been learning about guns, I've been learning from you all year. And so I hope you keep teaching me too, and that I get to ask you what I can do for you. And I hope you sign my petitions, and Jamie and Anlin are in the back with them. And so I really appreciate your support helping me get on the ballot. So thank you.
Thank you. Mary Ellen, you have 30 seconds and no cards. 30 seconds.
There's so much I want to do. I want to
Jump right into it. There you go.
There's so much I want to do. I want to keep you healthy and keep you safe. My mom died during the 2014 campaign, so I really care about the seniors. I want to make sure that the seniors live with a life of dignity. So I want to expand Social Security and protect Medicare. And I'm really interested in the gun issue. And the reason I waffled is because assault weapons kill massive amounts of people. So I think that background checks are extremely important, but so are getting rid of those assault weapons. So I stood up for you when it was impossible to win. I hope you'll stand up for me now. Thank you so much.
David, you have 1 minute. You paid me a card.
Hi again. So my name is David Wertheim. It's kind of a funny name, so just wanted to hold this up. Thank you all for letting me share my story with you today of my own family's encounter with the big and confusing health care system and what it's like to watch Republicans attack it and how scary that can be. I have a background in service. I've served in the Peace Corps, teaching in China. I've also served in the AmeriCorps when I was in college. I'm a middle-class kid from this area. I went to Yale University. I was a federal work-study kid. I was actually in a union, the Local 34 in New Haven. I served food to the richer kids who went to school with me. What I'd like to say is, deep down, I'm a journalist. That's what I've done most recently in my career. And I don't just want you to ask me things, but I want you to tell me things. I want you to tell me your stories and share them with me. I want to elevate and share your stories, and I want to make them part of this campaign. So please come find us. Whoever's petition you sign, I still hope you'll come by, say hi, tell us about your story. Thanks.
Thank you, David. You can just tell me how many cards. You have 2, so you have 90 seconds, George.
Thank you, Lisa. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. This is a fantastic thing. I've never seen so much enthusiasm in our politics until Donald Trump. That's the only good thing that's come out of the Trump administration. And I think it's so important to look at all of these candidates, and we all agree on almost everything. We'll all go to Washington, whoever gets in, and we're going to vote the right way on things, or I should say the left way on things. But we're going to vote for social justice. We're going to vote for the important things. So the decision's not really about policy. The decision is about who can be a better member of Congress, who can be more effective, more persuasive, to help get our agenda through, enact policy that will help all of us. I think I have that experience. I've been a lawyer for 35 years. Social justice is my passion. And if you look at our website at payde.com, I've handled cases in the Supreme Court on issues all around, from women's rights, from the rights of nurses who didn't get unemployment compensation. We changed 25 years of precedent on a pro bono case that I handled. So I was in the Florida election litigation. I was on CNN in the year 2000 in the butterfly ballot case. I was there pro bono to fight for our causes. That was 18 years ago. I've never stopped fighting. I think I've earned a shot at this seat, and I hope that you'll consider me as your candidate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. And Larry, how many cards do you have left there? 1. You have 1 minute, the last minute.
Thank you very much.
Turn it on. There you go.
We thank Indivisible, Mainline South, and the Marble Newtown Democrats for having us. Just an honor to be in front of you with all these great candidates. You'll see on our literature, it says taking back the House starts with us, and it really does. And this is going to be a Democratic seat, and we have to work together, no matter who wins, to make sure that this seat goes blue. We should not live in a country where someone who is addicted and goes into a treatment center gets turned away for treatment, or has to face a 7-day review every 7 days to justify his need for additional treatment. An addict, someone who's suffering from addiction, is not going to get cured with 7 days. But yet our healthcare system is demanding a 7-day review, and our counselors have to fight tooth and nail with the insurance companies to make sure they're covered. And if the insurance companies turn them down for coverage, they have to turn to our governments, and our local governments and our state governments are running out of funds for their treatment by April or May. So we're totally under budget, and this budget agreement voted no because it's totally underfunded and gave lip service to this opioid solution. So we can work together and solve this solution. It's killing 56,000 white people.
You can just skip through to the end. I would love everyone here to give our candidates a huge round of applause. One petition for an office. One petition. They're collecting them on the way out.